The legendary Power Ranger Tommy Oliver is the most outstanding Ranger of all time who has participated for more years as a Ranger than anyone else. If we talk about legends of superheroes in any franchise, Tommy is one of the first in that list, and today I'm going to give you a review of his entire history. Let's start with what many already know, and that is the beginning of the Green Ranger. Rita Repulsa, in the middle of the war with the Power Rangers, decides to use her power coin that she had obtained at the same time that Zordon obtained the other 5 power coins that make up the Power Rangers. With this 6th coin, Rita creates the Green Power Ranger, and without realizing it, she created the legendary Ranger. The one that was going to defeat evil for many years, and the one that in a parallel universe was going to eliminate her and dominate the world. Tommy Oliver starts out as the Green Ranger, who at first was the enemy of the Power Rangers thanks to Rita's spell, until Jason the Red Ranger defeats him and destroys the spell. In this universe, Tommy decides to join the Power Rangers to fight against Rita, but in a parallel universe Tommy decides to remain attached to Rita despite no longer being under her spell. You can find this story on the channel so you can meet this other Tommy Oliver. In the universe we know Tommy Oliver continued to be the Green Ranger by controlling the Dragon Zord with the Dragon Dagger and defeating Rita in every encounter until his power faded. Then the Power Rangers give him their power so he can go back to being the Green Ranger, and this worked for a while, but this power wouldn't last too long either. Because of this, Tommy was away for a long time until one day Zordon called the Rangers to the command center and introduced them to the new White Ranger, who he named as the new leader of the Power Rangers. This Ranger comes from the white light of good, and therefore darkness and evil cannot corrupt him. This new Ranger has been given the most powerful weapon of all time, a sword called Saban, which had a life of its own, and you can see its history in our channel. Besides that, the White Ranger together with Saban controls the White Tiger Zord, which can transform into warrior mode. This White Ranger also appeared in the first Power Rangers movie in 1995, being the leader of the group and leading them to defeat Ivan Ooze to save the world. Later, with the destruction of the Thunderzords, the Rangers set out on a journey through the Desert of Despair in search of the creator of the power coins, Ninja. With his help, they managed to transform themselves into the Ninja Power Rangers, who get their power from their life force and not from an external source. From this moment on, Tommy becomes the White Ninja Ranger controlling the White Falcon. After Lord Zedd turned the Rangers into children, Tommy as a child managed to get the Zeo crystals to become an adult again. Then Goldar and Rita Revolto exploited the Zordon command center to steal the Zeo crystal, but they didn't succeed. This powerful crystal comes from a planet that is in the void because the Morphin Masters destined that universe to perdition because an enemy of theirs used that same crystal, and due to the power it had, the Morphin Masters decided that it was very dangerous. With these crystals, Tommy and the other Rangers became the Zeo Rangers, being Tommy the Red Ranger controlling the Zeo Zord 5 and having a special Zord called the Red Battle Zord. After many battles, the Rangers managed to defeat the Machine Empire, but then came an evil pirate who came with the same plans to destroy the Power Rangers, called Divatox. With the arrival of this villain, they had to look for a new power. That is when the Turbo Power Rangers emerged and Tommy started to be the Red Ranger leading the team again. Divatox tried everything to destroy the Rangers and destroy Tommy, but the Rangers always achieved victory. After many years as a Ranger and a great leader, Tommy had to give up his powers as Turbo Ranger, and he ended up choosing TJ, who would become the new Red Ranger. After giving up his power, Tommy went to college to study paleontology, which is the natural science that studies and interprets the past of life on Earth through fossils. Tommy had this fascination with studying fossils and dinosaurs because of his time on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which controlled Zords from the prehistoric era. While researching fossils, Tommy found the red, blue and yellow dino gems, which were remnants of the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. After learning of the power the gems contained, Tommy knew they would be misused if they fell into the wrong hands, so he hid them. While in college he met Haley, who helped him create the Dino Morphers to create the Dino Thunder Power Rangers. 3 young men found these morphers and became the new Rangers, and later discovered Tommy's past as a Ranger who recruited them to become the Dino Thunder Power Rangers. Tommy obtained another Dino Gem and became the Black Ranger with the power of invisibility. Due to various situations, Tommy remained with the transformation for a while until an experiment returned Tommy to his natural state, but breaks his Dino Gem in the process. Due to this experiment, Tommy falls into a coma, and in his state, he begins to dream that he has a battle with his 3 former transformations. When he woke up from the coma, his Dino Gem was repaired and now he would have Super Dino mode. In the end, Tommy and the other Rangers had to destroy the Zords and the Dino Gems to be able to finish with the villain, and Tommy continued his life as a professor at the university. After many years, the events of the special 30th anniversary episode happened, in which Rita returns and uses Alpha's body as her new robotic body. When this happens, Billy had to confront Rita and was almost defeated, but the rest of the Mighty Morphin team arrived to save him. Later, Rita had built a machine to transform the Rangers into little dolls and extract all their energy. Unfortunately, Rita managed to trap Tommy, but after the Rangers destroyed this villain, Tommy was able to return to his family. Although we didn't get to see the actor in this episode, the character actually did appear. Jason David Frank decided not to appear in this special episode as he was still alive at the time, but sadly in November 2022 he passed away at the age of 49. Although this is the basic story of Tommy, this legendary Ranger has been mentioned a number of times throughout the story, as well as returning to help in big battles such as the Battle of all the Red Rangers and also in the legendary battle. In addition to this, outside of the franchise, Tommy has also participated in small fan-made battles. In the video games, Tommy has always been one of the main characters, and in the comics, we have seen his alternate history as we mentioned at the beginning of this video. For this and much more, Tommy will always be the greatest Ranger that has ever existed in the history of this universe and any parallel universe. When we all started watching Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, we fell in love with the Pink Ranger, and Kimberly stole our hearts with her sweetness and beauty. Beyond that sweet face is a warrior who has demonstrated the great power of a true Ranger. Although her role as the Pink Power Ranger may have seemed very short because, like Jason, Zack and Trini, Kimberly left the series, but she did so in the 3rd season. She is the longest-running female Power Ranger as the Pink Ranger and the 4th longest-running Ranger among all the Rangers. Her story is not only seen in the TV series, but we can also see her in the comics, in which we have learned more about her life and even a new transformation. When Zordon called the 5 youngsters and chose them as Power Rangers, the story of Kimberly, a girl dedicated to gymnastics to whom Zordon gives the pterodactyl power coin, which was the only flying Zord at the time, began. His weapon of attack is the power bow, which works for close and long-distance combat. The Pink Ranger suit was distinguished from the other Ranger suits because it was the only suit with a skirt, and the reason for this is because the Power Rangers come from a Japanese series called Super Sentai. In the United States they used the Super Sentai scenes when the Rangers were already transformed and only added scenes with the American actors. Because the Yellow Ranger of Super Sentai was a man, he didn't wear a skirt, and that's why the Yellow Ranger of Power Rangers didn't wear a skirt either, since those scenes were from Super Sentai. Although at first Kimberly is a good-hearted character who comes across as the typical sweet but somewhat naive girl, she changed her way of thinking when she switched bodies with Billy, as this helped her to understand the problems of others and she was able to see life from another point of view. In addition to gymnastics, Kimberly had also taken dance classes and had been seen with other skills such as designing flower arrangements, singing, and playing the guitar. Her gymnastic skills have helped her in many battles as she uses these skills to better jump and attack her opponents. When Tommy Oliver arrives at Angel Grove School, Kimberly is attracted to him, but the moment Rita casts a spell on Tommy, he begins to behave hostilely towards her. After breaking the spell, Tommy apologizes and they begin a relationship. This relationship grows stronger when Tommy loses his Green Ranger powers and Kimberly still supports him. Unfortunately, when Tommy loses his powers for the second time, he leaves Angel Grove and the relationship also ended. Then Tommy returns as the White Ranger, and they started their relationship again. This relationship has been the most famous of the entire franchise, as they are also seen together in the first Power Rangers movie from 1995. Despite this, in the Power Rangers Turbo movie Kimberly appears with Jason the Red Ranger and many thought they were together, plus when Divatox put a spell on them both, Kimberly told Tommy that she was with Jason. This was said under the spell as Divatox knew this would fill Tommy with jealousy and cloud his judgment. Still, many fans have commented that Jason and Kimberly also had a relationship because of what was seen in this movie and because in Power Rangers Zeo Kimberly sent a breakup letter to Tommy saying she had found someone else. Kimberly's departure from the Power Rangers left a huge void among the fans, but as we said at the beginning, Kimberly is a great gymnast and a coach which sought her to participate in the Pan Global Games held in Florida, USA. After this, Kimberly chooses Kat to replace her even though she had already been under the spell of Rita and Lord Zedd and had taken Kimberly's power coin from her. Despite this, when the spell was broken, Kimberly saw something special in Kat and chose her to be her replacement. Like the other members of the Mighty Morphin team, Kimberly appeared in some important battles such as the legendary battle, the battle with the Megazords in Cosmic Fury and Jason's battle against Goldar in Beast Morphers. In all these battles she only appeared transformed, just like her short duration in the special episode to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the franchise. For this special episode there was a lot of controversy with this character since the actress was about to reach an agreement with the producers, but then said she would not be able to be in the filming because she did not like the story they had written for her character. Although this was Kimberly's last in the TV series, the Boom Studio Comics talk more about her life and what happened after she gave up her power to Kat. After a while, when the Mighty Morphin were off Earth, Zordon reactivates the Pink Ranger powers that were still dormant in Kimberly to do one last battle on Earth. Kimberly calls her friends Zack and Trini who still remained on Earth to join her as the Black and Yellow Rangers. In addition, she recruited two brothers to be the Red and Blue Rangers, leaving Kimberly as the leader of the group, being the first pink leader of the Power Rangers. This comic shows the events that led Kimberly to write Tommy the letter seen in Power Rangers Zeo and also references that the other guy she had a relationship with was Jason. This all happened in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Pink comics, which are more dedicated to Kimberly. In the regular comics, Kimberly never left the Mighty Morphin team and her relationship with Tommy always continued. However, in another dimension there is another Kimberly who lived a different story because in that universe Tommy Oliver took another path. Even though Jason broke Rita's spell, Tommy Oliver decided to remain a villain and then destroyed Rita so he could stay as the leader. In that other dimension, Tommy Oliver, now better known as Lord Draken, cast a spell on Kimberly and transformed her into Ranger Slayer. With this transformation, Kimberly was evil and served faithfully to Lord Draken, in addition to a spectacular costume change which has become very famous among Power Rangers fans. The story of this character in the comics is extensive since there are other comics dedicated only to Ranger Slayer that talk more about his story in the other dimension. If you want to know more about all these comics, you should stay tuned to this channel as we always talk about the stories of these comics. In addition to all these comics that have been published, the actress who plays Kimberly decided to create another alternate history about the Mighty Morphin team called The Return. Although many thought that this story was going to be only about Kimberly's life, the reality is that it has been about the entire Mighty Morphin team 22 years in the future after they defeated Rita and Lord Zedd. Zachary Taylor, or better known as Zack, is the first Black Ranger of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and we are not talking about the color of his skin, but the color of his costume. Personally, this is my favorite Ranger of all time, so for me it is an honor to introduce you to his story. Zack was the second in command in the Mighty Morphin after Jason the Red Ranger, all this, until Tommy Oliver arrived as the White Ranger, which Zordon put as leader and Jason became the second in command. Zack's animal is the Mastodon, and his weapon is a very powerful axe that becomes a type of energy cannon, which is the beginning of the combination of all the Rangers' weapons to form the Power Blaster. In the comics, Zack has also been the Pink Ranger, the Green Ranger, and the Black Omega Ranger. Speaking of his personal life, Zack was a young man with some problems at home, but was still quiet and joking. Although he was very hesitant to have friends at first, he met Jason and the other Rangers at Angel Grove and gradually developed more. He is a young man who likes holidays like Halloween, although he is afraid of spiders and snakes. Zack likes to dance a lot, and what he did was to combine dancing with martial arts and invented a fighting style called hip-hop Kido, which he also teaches to others. He spends most of his time practicing martial arts with Jason and Tommy, as well as teaching dance to other students. When the war between Rita and Zordon started again after Rita escaped from her confinement, Zordon chose 5 young men to be the Power Rangers, and one of those was Zack, who at first was not sure if he could be a ranger because he was an insecure young man at the beginning of his life due to the problems he had at home. Then he decided to commit to being a ranger and accepted the mission to save the planet. With this he becomes the Black Ranger of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with the Mastodon Power Coin, which controls the Mastodon Dinozord. In the comics, during a mission, Zack controls the Megazord and they defeat Rita's monster while Jason helps from the ground. At the end of the battle everyone celebrates Jason's performance, but not Zack's, and therefore he feels a bit of jealousy within himself. Rita takes advantage of this jealousy and chooses him to be the first Green Ranger, since at this point Tommy had not yet appeared. When Rita makes the offer to Zack, he was tempted, but he rejected Rita and tried to steal the Green Ranger's power coin, but failed. Then Zack confessed everything to Zordon, and this story stayed between them and no other Ranger knew about it. Because of this whole event, when Tommy joined the team as the Green Ranger, Zack questioned Tommy's loyalty many times and if Rita could still control him. This is why, at first, they have several confrontations, but then they begin to trust each other little by little. Later, when Lord Zedd arrives and destroys the Zords, Zordon gave the Rangers the new Thunderzords and Zack had control of the Lion Thunderzord. Zack's last mission with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was to find the light sword, which is used to transfer powers from one ranger to another when their powers come from one of the 5 power coins. The 6th coin has no connection to this sword. This mission was because Zack, Jason and Trini would travel to Switzerland and had to transfer their powers to other young people. Zack managed to transfer his powers to Adam, who would become the new Black Ranger and would be a very important and beloved character in the saga. Despite Zack having passed his powers to Adam, Zack has appeared as a Black Ranger in several seasons where fights have been given along with the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, as was the famous legendary battle or the battle in which Jason summons his team to defeat Goldar Maximus. Before we talk about their last appearance, we must first talk a little more about their journey as Omega Ranger. In the TV show we could see the transfer of power, and we all already know the excuse we were given for these actors not to appear anymore. In real life, it has already been known that it was all because of contract problems with the franchise owners, as the actors were paid too little and they wanted the money they actually deserved. This opened a window to create a story about these 3 Rangers who had to transfer their power, and as a curious fact, the actors were not actually in that episode. The producers used old scenes and other voices to portray these Rangers. In the comics they used this opportunity to create a new story with these Rangers, and it has been something that has worked excellently. The Omega Rangers have been so famous that Hasbro has had to sell action figures of these Rangers, and the fans love this team. In the beginning of the story, Jason was the one chosen by the Blue Emissary, but Zack and Trini found out about this and also decided to join the team. After a while, the Blue Ranger joined, and during all this time the team members have changed little by little. This Omega Rangers team had existed for many years before, but the Morphin Masters had to hide this power. This is why Zack is considered to be very special, as he could be chosen to have this mysterious power that carries with it a great responsibility. The Omega Rangers are in charge of the security of the universe, so the enemies they face are much more powerful and dangerous. In the TV series, the last we got to see of Zack was his appearance in the special episode, and best of all, he was one of the main characters. In this story, Zack was working in politics, but due to Trini's unfortunate passing, he had to take care of the Yellow Ranger's daughter. Zack took it upon himself to train Min, and apparently the training was effective as she became the new Yellow Ranger. In this special we could see that Zack has matured a lot since, although he is still a cheerful person, he is also very responsible, and this he showed by committing himself to the care of Trini's daughter. In this special episode to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the franchise, we could see that Zack still uses his dancing as a fighting style and gave us a demonstration that despite the age he is, he can still move very well. At the end of this episode, we could see that Zack made the final shot to destroy Rita using his power axe, and with this we could confirm that this is one of the most powerful weapons that exists. I think Zack is a very special Ranger, as since 1993 he was able to establish one of the best personalities in the entire history of the franchise by combining humor, commitment, and responsibility. This is a flexible character that can adapt to any situation, and he has proven that in the TV series, but also in the comics. There is a version of Zack in Lord Draken's dimension, and there too we can see Zack can adapt to any situation. Trini Kwan, the Yellow Power Ranger in Mighty Morphin, is one of the most remembered characters in the history of the franchise, not only for her emotional strength and her big heart for wanting to help others, but also for the unfortunate event of the tragic death of the actress who played this character, Thuy Trang. Although many think she was a Japanese or Chinese actress, she was Vietnamese American. Trang was the last Asian actress to play a Yellow Ranger, since Asian people are derogatorily called yellow, and casting an Asian to play the Yellow Ranger offended many people. Speaking of the character, Trini was a quiet person, eager to help others and very strong emotionally. She was the 16-year-old daughter of a Taiwanese doctor and a Korean woman, who lived in 8 military bases for the past 15 years due to her father's work. Although she wasn't Chinese, nor Japanese, she still practiced many customs of these countries. When Zordon decided to choose Trini as a Power Ranger, he transported her to the command center along with her other friends. Some did not decide to believe in what was happening, but Trini decided to believe in Zordon and stayed at the command center to accept the challenge of being a Power Ranger. Quickly after agreeing to be a Ranger, Zordon transports her back to Angel Grove, where she had her first battle with Rita's warriors. At first it was difficult for her, but then she activated her morphosis and became the first Yellow Ranger of the entire franchise. With her morph now complete, she was able to defeat the enemies and master her battle mode well. Although Trini was not as gifted in intelligence as Billy was, we know that she was very intelligent. Because of this, Trini did things like changing the language of Alpha 5 to a language more up to date to that year. Despite being a brave young woman, Trini was afraid of heights, which led her to have many challenges. Rita took advantage of any weakness she could use against her. She was also challenged by her lack of self-confidence, which was due to Rita's spells, but Trini overcame it time and time again. One of the biggest challenges she had was when Rita took all of the parents, including Trini's parents, and this devastated her. Rita gave them a choice between their parents or the power coins, and Trini chose to give up her power coin. At the end of it all, they managed to get the parents back and also the power coins to continue fighting against Rita. Although this does not appear in the TV show, in the comics we are told that Trini was in love from the beginning with Jason, and they managed to kiss when their powers were exchanged, and she was the Red Ranger. After this, Trini and Jason thought it would be a bad idea to be together, since that could be a weakness that their enemies would use to attack them. Trini was a very attached person to her friends. She supported them in every event they had and was always there for them. She was very close to Kimberly, as they were the only 2 female Rangers on the team and both worked hard to help clean up the environment. She was also close friends with Billy, as they both had their great intelligence in common, and Trini would help Billy translate all the technical words in the speeches he gave about his inventions, and she would explain it in simpler words. In addition, she also helped him study for his exams and helped him with his projects. When Trini made her transfer of power to Aisha, the explanation that she, Jason and Zack gave was that they were going to a World Peace Summit in Switzerland, but in reality, they were going to form a new group of Rangers guided by the Blue Emissary, who was a representative of the Morphin Masters. If you want to know more about the Morphin Masters, you can search for this video in our channel. The Blue Emissary had asked Jason to help him repair all the damage that had happened in the grid due to the event with Lord Draken. The mission was to find people who had suffered changes and help them understand what was happening to them and guide them on the right path. When Jason heard about this mission, he wanted to do it alone or find a team other than his current Mighty Morphin team, as he didn't want to involve them because he knew this mission was going to be hard. Still, at one point Jason was in the command center talking to the Blue Emissary, and Trini and Zack walked in and saw them. Eventually, due to Trini's loyalty to her friends, she wanted to get involved with the new team, and they both told Jason that they would not leave him alone in this new mission. The 3 of them quickly took off into space to other planets in search of people who needed help. In one of the planets, they met Kia, an alien woman who had some great powers, but she didn't understand what was happening to her. The people of her village wanted to burn her as they thought she was a witch, but Jason, Trini and Zack arrived to save her. Still, Kia gets desperate and creates an explosion with her powers and then hides. While Jason and Zack try to save people from the explosion, Trini was the only one who could convince Kia that they were there to help her and invited her to go with them in the ship. After having been through several worlds battling, they realize how great Kia's power is and invite her to join the new team they were forming. This new team was taken to a place deep in space by the Blue Emissary, who presented them with the gauntlets of the first Rangers, which had powers that came from wind, earth, water and fire. Trini along with the others took their gauntlets and became the Omega Rangers, Trini being the yellow Omega Ranger with the power of Earth. Later, Jason would lose his connection to the Morphin Grid and Trini would take the lead as the Red Omega Ranger. After fighting for quite some time with different enemies being the Red Ranger of the Omega Rangers, Trini still feels that she is not the right one to be the leader of the team. Fortunately, Zack has been with her all this time telling her that she is a great leader and helping her to be strong. This friendship slowly turned into a romantic relationship and then they started their relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend. In the special episode to celebrate 30 years of the franchise, Trini arrived along with the entire Mighty Morphin team to help Billy fight Rita. Unfortunately, in that battle, Rita launched a powerful attack towards Billy, but Trini noticed and quickly intercepted the attack. She gave up her life to save Billy as that powerful attack vaporized her and only her morpher remained. Trini had a daughter named Min, who earned the right to use her mother's morpher and become the new Yellow Ranger. William Billy Cranston, or better known as the Blue Ranger in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, is one of the most beloved characters in the entire saga and the entire franchise. This character clearly represents all those people who are intelligent and studious, but a bit withdrawn and unsociable. The evolution of this character was one of the greatest in the entire saga, and the change he gave when he transformed with Morphosis was greater than that of any Ranger, since when he was not transformed, he was not very good at fighting, besides wanting to resolve conflicts in a more intelligent way without having to reach violence. Even though more than 30 years have passed since his first appearances, fans still remember him in a very special way. Since every event that this character has appeared, fans get excited. Billy is so smart that he helped Alpha repair many things in the command center, a more advanced technology, and yet Billy could still work with it. In addition, he also created the communicators for all the Power Rangers of his season and helped create technologies that they would later use. When Zordon chose him to be the Blue Ranger, he gave him the Triceratop coin, which controlled Triceratop Dino Zord. The helmet of his suit has been one of the most emblematic of the series, in addition to his weapon, which is a power spear that can be used together as a single spear or split into two parts. This spear has at the end of each side 3 points like a small trident, and when attached to the power blaster also launches energy beams. At first Billy was very shy and avoided trouble, so he was bullied a lot, and Trini the Yellow Ranger defended him all the time. Then Jason taught him to fight and defend himself, and little by little he became a stronger and less shy character. Even so, since he was a child, he had a phobia of fish, and Rita took advantage of this and created a monster in the shape of a fish. That monster had injured all the Rangers, except Billy, and in addition to his phobia of fish, Rita had put a spell on him to exaggerate his fear even more. So that day Billy had to overcome Rita's spell and also overcome his fear of fish to defeat the monster and save the other Rangers. Each Ranger had his special ability, and Billy's was to invent things. One of his most important inventions was the rad bug, which was a car that could go from 0 to 3,000 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. This car allowed the Rangers to transport themselves to the command center when the communicators were damaged. After many battles with Rita and Lord Zedd, Billy and the other Rangers go in search of Ninja for a new power. Ninja turned them into the Ninja Rangers and Billy received the Ninja Zord Wolf. This Zord has been one of the most iconic of the whole franchise. After a while and many battles, Lord Zedd, Rita and Goldar managed to steal the ninja coins and destroyed them. With the coins destroyed, Billy decided to retire as a ranger and dedicate himself to only serve as an advisor. In the time of the Zeo Rangers, Billy helped them on several occasions with different technologies, and although it was thought that he was the Golden Ranger, he confessed that it was not really him. Despite this, the other Rangers wanted him to be the replacement for Trey, the original Golden Ranger, but Billy had to give up that role to Jason since due to the explosion of the command center, he had negative proton energy, and this prevented him from using the transformation. After this, Billy went to Aquitar to stop his aging and fell in love with a woman from that planet. Billy has also been seen in other episodes that have featured the entire Mighty Morphin team, such as the legendary battle and when Jason gathered his team to defeat Goldar Maximus. In the last years of Power Rangers, Billy has been a very important character as he was one of the main characters in the special episode celebrating the 30th anniversary of the franchise, and he was also an essential part of the Cosmic Fury team. Let's start by talking about his participation in the special episode, as these events happened before the events of Cosmic Fury, and this participation in the special episode was important for the character, but also for the actor who plays this Blue Ranger. For a long time, the actor who plays this character had been looking for a way to create a special episode to bring the Mighty Morphin team back to life, so this idea of a special episode started thanks to him. Although it is said that the producers did not use the actor's ideas to create the special 30th anniversary episode, all of us fans know that this episode was created thanks to the actor's efforts to bring the team back to life. Even since they didn't use the stories the actor had for the episode, he has shared an alternate story on his social networks and everyone can read it. Speaking of the character, the special episode started with the battle Billy had with Rita after she took over Alpha's body, and this happened because the Blue Ranger was still looking for a way to bring Zordon back. I won't go into all the details of the story of the special episode, but we could tell that Billy knew that Zordon was still alive somewhere, or that his energy was somewhere. In addition to this, we could also see that Billy built a new command center and a new Alpha. With this episode we could notice that Billy was always a very important ranger in the team, and even though the experiment to bring Zordon back went wrong, the Mighty Morphin team supported him. Let's talk now about his participation in Cosmic Fury, which worked to be able to see Billy in a different way, since here he was also a mentor. This part is very important since the Mighty Morphin team started a long time ago and all of them already have a lot of experience. Because of this we got to see an older ranger giving all that experience to younger rangers. This was quite personal, as many of us fans who started out watching Mighty Morphin are now adults with children who are also Power Rangers fans, and we could see ourselves reflected in Billy as we are now mentoring our children. Billy's involvement in Cosmic Fury was so important that it was thanks to him that the Rangers were able to reconnect to the grid after he created the new morphers for them. In addition to this, he also helped them fight Lord Zedd, since we all know that Billy had fought him before and knows him very well. We could also notice the immense respect the young Rangers have for Billy and consider him a legend. We could see this when Ollie saw Billy in the big battle and got excited as if he had seen a very famous artist. Another important act Billy did in that season is that at the end of the battle he gathered many Rangers with several Megazords in order to save the team from cosmic fury. This Ranger is going to remain a legend, and we can probably consider him as the best Blue Ranger that has ever existed in history. Most kids, even adults, almost always, their favorite Ranger is the Red Ranger. Not just any Red Ranger, but Jason, the Red Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. In several rides, this Ranger has always come out as the #1 in the entire history of the franchise, although we must say that Tommy can also win these polls. Jason is the leader of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and is the Ranger who has defeated the most villains by himself. He is also the only one who defeated Tommy Oliver in a fight. Before becoming a Ranger, he was dedicated to martial arts in Angel Grove until Zordon selected him along with his 4 closest friends to be a Power Ranger, but not just any Ranger, the leader of the group and the most powerful. Why did Zordon choose him as the leader? When Zordon and Alpha 5 make the call to the 5 teenagers and tell them about the power, Jason is the only one who initially believes it, and that is why Zordon gives him the power coin of the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the Dinozord. After obtaining this power, they begin their battles with Rita, who had sent Goldar to destroy the Earth until the Power Rangers, led by Jason, defeated the monster. Although, at first glance, Jason seems like a typical athlete who is only interested in sports, inside, he is a kind person who likes to help others, and that is why he protects Billy and also teaches him martial arts so he can defend himself and builds his confidence. In addition to his martial arts skills, Jason does weightlifting and is certified as a scuba diving instructor. After many battles against Rita, one day a new student arrives to the school, Tommy Oliver, who began to be the only one who could be a competition for Jason in martial arts. This is why Rita bewitches him and turns him into the Green Ranger to defeat the Power Rangers. Rita captures Jason and locks him in the Dark Dimension after stealing his morpher, plus he had to fight Goldar to get it back. Rita then sends the Green Ranger to destroy Jason, but Alpha 5, Trini and Billy manage to get Jason back before Tommy could harm him. Later, Jason confronts Tommy on Earth and finally defeats him in combat when he throws his energized power sword at the Green Ranger, disarms him, and then uses his blaster to destroy the Sword of Darkness that Rita had given Tommy. That was the sword that kept Rita's spell on Tommy. Now without the sword, Jason then invites Tommy to join the Power Rangers and use his powers against Rita. Later, Rita makes a green candle with special wax that had been enchanted with Tommy's touch when he was evil. Once lit, the candle continues to burn until it goes out, and when it goes out, so do Tommy's powers. When Tommy is near the candle, it accelerates the melting process. Goldar captures Tommy and places him near it. However, he eventually escapes and Jason stays behind to retrieve the candle. Jason does well in his fight with Goldar, but is called into battle with Rita's monster Cyclops to save Angel Grove. After the failed destruction of the green candle, Tommy entrusts Jason with his power coin to prevent it from falling back into Rita's hands, giving him access to the Green Ranger's powers. This includes the Dagon Shield and the Dagon Dagger, which also allows him to summon the Dagonzord to aid the Rangers, even while Jason controls the Megazord, making it twice as powerful. One day, Goldar kidnaps all the parents of the students at Angel Grove School and tells Jason that if he wants to get the parents back, he must hand over all the power coins. So, Jason very cleverly delivers the 5 power coins, but he never gave him the Dragonzord coin. Thanks to this, Tommy recovers his power and then recovers the power coins of the other Rangers to also help the team to recover the parents of Angel Grove. This shows the great leadership that Jason has. When Lord Zedd arrives to the moon and banishes Rita, as we talked about in the video of the whole history of Lord Zedd, he creates some putties with his brand that are stronger and more powerful and sends them to the earth to destroy the Rangers. In addition to this, Lord Zedd destroys the Zords, including Jason's Dinozord. Even so, then new Zords called the Thunderzords appear, in which was Jason's new Zord, the Red Dragon Thunderzord, which transformed into a humanoid form and could fight any villain on its own separate from the fusion of the Megazord. Unfortunately, Tommy loses his Green Ranger powers again and Jason feels guilty about it. Lord Zedd takes advantage of this and creates some candles for the other Rangers to also steal their power, but Jason with the help of Zordon manages to save his friends. After these events, Zordon gives Tommy the power of the White Ranger and names him the new leader of the group. Jason accepts this and becomes the second in command, but Tommy was very confident in Jason's experience as a leader and was always looking out for him. Some time later, Jason, Trini and Zack must go to a peace conference in another country, and because of this they had to leave the team. Because of this, Zordon chooses his successors, choosing Rocky as the new Red Ranger. It is believed that because Rocky had big shoes to fill as Jason was the favorite Ranger of all time, Rocky became the least liked Ranger of the entire saga, even after appearing in the Best Power Rangers movie in 1995. In Power Rangers Zeo, there is the Gold Ranger, which was represented by a being who was prince of the planet Trifonia called Trey. He had been injured and needed someone to replace him as the Gold Ranger. Then, this power was given to Jason, who returned to be the second in command of the team. On one occasion when Tommy was kidnapped, Jason had to be the leader. In addition to this, it is seen throughout the series that Tommy relied heavily on Jason's advice for leadership decisions. At the end of Zeo, Jason returns the Gold Ranger powers to Trey, their original bearer, due to the fact that the powers of this Ranger were not meant for humans. Jason was already feeling the weight and weariness of these powers. Despite this, Jason suffered no injury and was able to transfer the powers safely and then went on his way. Jason also appeared in the Power Rangers Turbo movie alongside Kimberly, and they helped the Power Rangers fight against Divatox, the main villain of the Turbo Rangers. He also had another appearance in Power Rangers Wild Force when they made the special Forever Red, in which he appeared with his original Mighty Morphin Power, along with other Red Rangers. In Power Rangers Super Megaforce, Jason appeared in the legendary battle, although he was always transformed since the actor could not be in that episode. In 2020, the actor who plays Jason made his final appearance, but this was not the character's last appearance. In Power Rangers Beast Morphers, Jason returns to fight against his old enemy Goldar, who was now called Goldar Maximus. Jason calls his old team to help him fight Goldar, and all the Power Rangers unite to destroy him. The last appearance of the character was in the special episode celebrating the 30th anniversary of the franchise, and in this episode Jason appears for a very short time as he was quickly transformed into a doll to extract his energy. In the comics, Jason has been an important character since these stories are based on the story of the TV series and have created an alternate history. In Jason's case, after leaving the Mighty Morphin team to go to the peace conference, he was selected by the Blue Emissary to give him the power of the Red Omega Ranger. In a different dimension, Jason had been selected to be the White Ranger since Tommy had stayed with Rita as a villain. Tommy did not allow Jason to get the power of the White Ranger and took Jason's life so he could keep that power for himself.
May the power protect you.
An iconic phrase from Zordon, who was the leader of the Power Rangers, and that's what we typically know about him, but who is he really? Zordon belongs to a planet called Elter, which we will talk about in another video, He is also defined as a mystical galactic sage and warrior of good who fights against evil. Part of his achievements was to create the Power Rangers, and 10,000 years ago a villain named Rita Repulsa tried to conquer many worlds throughout the universe. Zordon, upon learning of this, objected and started a war against Rita. This war lasted about 2,000 years across different planets where many warriors perished, some at the hands of Rita's servants, such as Night Nasty, who fought against the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. After so many years of fighting, Rita began to serve Lord Zedd, and he sent her to Earth, so she built her palace on the moon to start her war from there. In that same period, Zordon discovered 5 coins of power, but those 5 coins were not the only ones. There was one more, and that was obtained by Rita Repulsa. Each coin had the power of some prehistoric animal and gave power to anyone who used them. The coins Zordon found were Tyrannosaurus, to invoke red power, Mastodon, to invoke black power, saber-toothed tiger, to invoke yellow power, Pterodactyl, to invoke pink power, and Triceratops, to invoke blue power. The coin that Rita found is very powerful. It belongs to the dragon and can invoke the green power. After so many years of war, Zordon starts to get closer to victory and Rita starts to give up, so she tells Zordon that she is going to agree to peace. Because of this, Zordon lets his guard down and Rita banishes him to a place where Zordon exists outside of ordinary time. An energy tube that he can't get out of and only allows him to talk, but at the same time he can't age either. Still, Zordon is so powerful that he found a way to imprison Rita in a space junk container and destined her to be locked away for eternity. In Earth year 1993, the space junk container Rita was in was accidentally opened by astronauts, and she returned to her base on the moon to continue her war against Zordon. This time Zordon was prepared. He had already built his base on Earth and befriended Alpha, who would help him create the Power Rangers. In addition to this, Zordon had positioned weapons throughout the solar system to continue defending the Earth from any enemy attack, in addition to all the contacts he had throughout space that warned him of any threat. In order to confront Rita, Zordon and Alpha chose 5 teenagers to give them the power of the 5 coins they had found some time ago. These teens were Jason, who was given the Tyrannosaurus coin to invoke the red power, Zack, who received the Mastodon coin to invoke the black power, Trini, who received the saber-toothed tiger coin to invoke the yellow power, Kimberly, who was given the pterodactyl coin to invoke the pink power, and finally Billy, who got the Triceratops coin to invoke the blue power. These 5 teenagers were the first Power Rangers we saw on TV, although in the history of this fantasy universe we already know that Dino Fury's Rangers existed first. In the comics there is also another story about 5 Rangers that Zordon had chosen before these teens, and it all ended very badly. You can look for that video on the channel. After Zordon chose these 5 teens to be the Power Rangers, Rita also used her power coin and chose Tommy Oliver to get the dragon coin with the green-colored powers. The Rangers managed to break Rita's spell that caused Tommy to be evil, and this Green Ranger was part of the team for a while until his powers ran out. After this, Zordon was able to create the power of the White Ranger, a power that comes from all that is good, and chose Tommy to give him this power and named him the new leader of the team. Zordon was the mentor of the Power Rangers in the 3 seasons of Mighty Morphin, also in Zeo and in some episodes of Turbo, since there he went to star with Alpha 5. He then appeared a few times in the In Space series until the end of that season when he was destroyed by Andrus in order to save the universe. Zordon knew that if Andrus destroyed the tube, this was going to create an expansive slingshot that was going to reach everywhere in the universe, and this was going to destroy all the villains, as well as transform some. This was the last time we saw Zordon alive, but his legacy is so great that he has been mentioned by many Power Rangers teams, and in the special episode we start to know more about him again. After many years, the Mighty Morphin team is still together, and Billy built a new command center. In addition to this, they also have Alpha 8, which we assume must have been built by Billy or Alpha 7. Billy and Alpha 8 were working hard to try and bring Zordon back, since despite not being physically on Earth, his energy is still wandering around somewhere. Basically, this was the same thing that happened with Rita and Lord Zedd when they were purified with Zordon's energy. All that evil energy was left wandering around in existence, and this is what Billy attracted with the experiment. Unfortunately, Billy was unable to bring Zordon back. However, Rita's evil energy managed to enter through the tube and then exited to get inside Alpha 8's body. After the events of the special episode, all the things we saw in Cosmic Fury happened, and one of these things was the appearance of Zordon again. Many people didn't understand this part well, so we are going to try to explain it as best as we can, since there are many new fans who may not know Zordon very well. When Zyto died at the end of Dino Fury, we could see that after 6 months the Morphin Master brought him back, and at that time no one knew what really happened. Zyto really knew what was happening, but he didn't want to tell his friends so as not to worry them, because he knew that his death had been difficult for them. The Morphin Masters had brought him back with magic only to fulfill a purpose, and he was basically like a battery charged with that magic, since every time he used that energy, he had less time left alive. When Zyto used all the energy, his spirit began to return to the grid, but Ian was so desperate that his spirit attached itself to Zyto's spirit, and he also came to the grid. Ian woke up in a place with lots of light, and in front of him was Zyto's body, but it had blue eyes. After Ian hugged him, this being told him that he did not know him, and Ian was very confused as it was the same body of Zyto. This being was Zordon, who was somewhere unknown since Andrus destroyed the tube, and now he had Zyto's appearance, but somehow the grid connected him to Ian. Zordon told Ian that he was seeing his friend because that was what his mind wanted to see, but he was not Zyto, and Ian asked him if he can tell him if Zyto's energy is somewhere in the grid. Zordon manages to find Zyto's energy in the grid, but tells Ian that Zyto's time on Earth is up and that cannot change. The strangest thing about this encounter is that Zordon apparently didn't have much memory of the Rangers and Lord Zedd, even though he said those names were familiar to him. Zordon never said his name, but we knew it was him because he told Ian that there was something he used to say in times like these.
May the power protect you.
Lord Zedd, one of the most powerful Power Rangers villains of all time. The history of this villain goes back thousands of years, when he was Zofran, the ancient guardian of Elter and the mentor of Zardos and Zordon. He proclaimed himself Emperor of Evil and enslaved Goldar and Rita for his purposes of conquest in the universe. At that time, Lord Zedd tried to take the Zeo crystal to use them in his evil plans, but the crystal had a protection against the forces of evil, and this caused all his skin to burn. This is why Lord Zedd has no skin, and his body shows the inside of his body, such as the fiber of his muscles and his exposed brain. He also wears a crown embedded in his body with a long tip that has a Z at the end. He carries a staff with the Z at the tip, which helps him channel all his power. His face is covered by a red visor and a kind of metallic mask in his mouth. After so many years of conquering worlds, Lord Zedd comes across Earth. He didn't think it was important enough to be worth his attention, so he sends Rita and Goldar to conquer it. After so many failures by Rita, Lord Zedd arrives on Earth and punishes Rita by shrinking her and locking her in a space junk capsule and throws her into the depths of space. Lord Zedd began to fight the Power Rangers and managed to destroy the Zords, but Zordon and the Power Rangers managed to transform the remains into the Thunder Zords. These Zords were more powerful than the previous Zords, so they were able to start a good fight against Lord Zedd. In a desperate attempt, Lord Zedd tries to make Kimberly the Pink Power Ranger his wife, and to convert her he sent Goldar to brainwash her. Kimberly started to fall for Goldar's words, but in the end, it was just a deception Kimberly did to give the Power Rangers more time to rescue her, and since then Lord Zedd feels more hatred for the Pink Power Ranger. One day, Lord Zedd tried to create a group of evil Rangers, but Tommy the Green Ranger stopped him to save those humans that Zedd was controlling. Then, as revenge, Lord Zedd vowed to destroy the Green Ranger, and in this he succeeded. Then he wanted to cast a spell on him and make him his heir to the throne, but Zordon got there first and turned Tommy into the White Ranger. Due to the strong battles that Lord Zedd had with the Power Rangers, he had to dig up a powerful war machine called Serpentera, which could easily crush the Rangers' Zords, but had the disadvantage that it consumed a lot of their power and the machine could only battle for short periods of time. Given this, Lord Zedd had to take his centennial recharge moment, and it is at this moment that Rita manages to escape from the capsule and returns to the moon, where she puts a love potion in Lord Zedd's sleep machine. As soon as Zedd wakes up, he quickly falls in love with Rita. However, the potion did not work as Rita had hoped, because Lord Zedd would not allow himself to be manipulated. Now with Lord Zedd and Rita fighting together against the Power Rangers, the fights became more difficult for the Rangers. They even managed to create an evil Tommy and even sent the Rangers to the past. Then, Rita's father arrived to the moon, and between the three of them they managed to defeat the Power Rangers, destroying their command center in a failed attempt to obtain the Zeo Crystal, although this victory would not last long, because then came the Empire of the Machines. After several battles against the Machine Empire and some more against the Power Rangers, Lord Zedd and Rita gave up and disappeared for a while. Then in the final battle, where Dark Spectre has a great meeting of evil, Lord Zedd and Rita appear to help in the battle and are sent to defeat the Gold Ranger. At the moment they catch him, Zordon's sacrifice happens and both are transformed to human beings, and they still kept their love. A love that led them to have a son named Trax, who was born before these events and was upset that his parents were lost in kindness. After many years in the saga of Dino Fury, Lord Zedd is resurrected. Although the last time he was seen was in his human form, it is said that they revived his evil side before the wedding with Rita, an eviler and darker Lord Zedd with a more destructive power. In these new battles against the Power Rangers, he almost managed to defeat them, but failed, so he teleported away, swearing that someday he will return. After several attempts to destroy the Dino Fury Rangers, Lord Zedd was locked in a glass container by the Morphin Masters, and we all thought that this was going to be the end of this powerful villain. Unfortunately, Lord Zedd escaped, and a great epic battle began in which the Morphin Masters had to fight together with the Dino Fury Rangers. Because Zyto had passed away, the Morphin Masters had to revive him for a limited time so that he could help them in the battle. This was the end of the Dino Fury season, and it was also the beginning of the Cosmic Fury season, in which we would later see Lord Zedd in one of his best moments as a villain. Lord Zedd had made an alliance with another villain who owned a giant company, and with their large machines they could extract energy from planets to be able to create large armies. Lord Zedd wanted to take advantage of all that power to trap the Morphin Master and use all the energy for him to have a transformation. One of Lord Zedd's allies had created a machine that could trap anyone, so he used this technology to enclose the Morphin Masters in a tube and later be able to use all that combined energy. In order to destroy the Dino Fury Rangers, what he did was to transform the Blue Ranger back into a villain, since Lord Zedd had previously bewitched him, and this had worked very well in his evil plans. Lord Zedd took it upon himself to destroy the statues that connected the Rangers to the power, and also almost destroyed the command center. Throughout this season of Cosmic Fury, Lord Zedd remained the leader, and we didn't see him fight as many times as he did in Dino Fury. He even managed to build a new castle on the planet Elter, and also managed to lock up almost all the Power Rangers on Earth. This time Lord Zedd was conquering everything, and then he built a throne that managed to channel the power of the Morphin Masters. In this way Lord Zedd transformed into Master Zedd, and he was so powerful that he wanted Dark Spectre to have seen him. He was so powerful that he destroyed the new Cosmic Fury Zords as if they were toys, and the Rangers were no longer a match for him. We could see that Master Zedd's body was now different, and we could tell that he was very powerful physically. Despite all this power, the other villain he had made an alliance with had been deceiving him all this time and had been setting him up from the beginning. She wanted Lord Zedd to use the power of the Morphin Masters, and then trapped him with the same machine that he had trapped the Morphin Masters before. After the Rangers defeated this villainess, Zaido, now turned into a Morphin Master, took the Rangers inside the crystal tube in which Master Zedd was locked to try to convince him to release the Morphin Master's power. After this, Zaido teleported Lord Zedd to a planet where people's fears torment them, and there, we could see that Lord Zedd's worst nightmare was having to be Rita's servant. When we started this channel, we talked about the history of the most famous villain of Power Rangers, and I am obviously referring to Rita Repulsa. She has a very complex history, since we have part of her life in the TV series that we have seen since the beginning of the franchise, but now with her reappearance in the special episode, her story is longer. We also have a bit of her story in the comics, but we are not going to talk about everything that appears in the comics, since those are different stories. In this video, we want to try to talk about the most basic backstory of Rita Repulsa so you can understand a little bit about this character, and if you are one of those who never saw Mighty Morphin, then here you can get to know who this witch is. Let's start by giving a brief description of her: an evil sorceress, daughter of a feared conqueror of worlds named Master Vil. This villain is part of the Dark Spectre organization, basically an evil emperor who only wanted his daughter to be a vessel for his boss. Rita's mother is Lady Fienna, who was a very powerful sorceress who was Zordon's ally and fell in love with Rita's father before he was corrupted by Dark Spectre. They were both studying the Morphin Grid and had been able to see the future of their unborn daughter at the time. Lady Fienna saw Rita become the mystical mother, but her husband only saw Rita become a witch and himself become Master Vil. That is how Dark Spectre corrupted him and now became Master Vil for the purpose of separating Rita to be the vessel. Rita's mother realized this, so she ran away when she was pregnant, and Master Vil had been looking for her for a long time. Finally, when Rita was 6 years old, her father found her and sent his warriors to bring his daughter back. The Phantom Ranger helped Rita and her mother escape until they reached a place filled with Morphin Grid energy. The purpose of traveling to this place was to heal the Phantom Ranger's wounds, but Rita's mother had the idea to fill her daughter with grid energy so that she could no longer be Dark Spectre's vessel. In the process, the machine exploded, and Rita's mother died. When Master Vil arrived to look for Rita, he realized that she was already full of grid energy and was useless to Dark Spectre. Despite this, he decided to take Rita to try to turn her into the witch he had seen before she was born. Rita grew up learning to be an evil witch and made herself a scepter to channel all her evil power. This was because she wanted to be more dangerous and be able to do what her father did, conquer worlds. She met Lord Zedd and began to work for him, conquering the galaxy while gaining fame for her destruction of worlds. Rita was such a powerful villain that she began to create an army to aid her in her conquests until she met Zordon of Elter. She started a war against Zordon that would last more than 2,000 years, in which they had legendary battles where both lost part of their armies. In between all that war, Lord Zedd sends Rita to conquer the Earth, and she establishes her evil headquarters on the moon, and Zordon established his on Earth to fight against Rita. In that period, Zordon finds 5 coins of power and Rita found an additional coin. The 6th coin, which would give life to the Green Ranger who would help her in the battle to destroy the Power Rangers that Zordon would create with those 5 coins. Before the Green Ranger and Zordon created the Power Rangers, Rita and Zordon were still at war. Rita started to lose the battle, so she decides to form a plan and tells Zordon that she wants to make a peace pact, but her real plan was to get Zordon to let his guard down and trap him in a time warp. Despite this, Zordon was prepared and locked her in a space junk capsule, which he then sent to wander in space for eternity. After 10,000 years, some astronauts came across the capsule and removed the seal by mistake, setting the evil villain free. She quickly went to the moon to her headquarters, which was abandoned. She managed to gather several of her servants who would help her again to conquer the Earth, and that is when she sent Goldar to destroy the Earth. Then she was surprised to find that Zordon had created the Power Rangers, who defeated Goldar and all the monsters that Rita sent. After so many defeats, Rita remembered that she still had the 6th power coin, and with it she created the Green Ranger, an evil ranger destined to destroy the Power Rangers. After many battles, Jason, the Red Ranger, managed to break Rita's spell on the Green Ranger and then made him part of the team. In the comics, in the Green Ranger saga, we could see that after this Tommy had a connection with Rita, until he was able to destroy that connection. After this, Lord Zedd was so disgusted with Rita's inability to conquer Earth that he locked her back in another garbage capsule and started the war against Zordon himself. In less than a year, Rita managed to escape and return to the moon with the help of Finster, who restored her to her normal size. He also helped her create a love potion to conquer Lord Zedd and convince him to marry her so they could both fight against Zordon. At first it was a sham, and she only did it to overthrow Lord Zedd, but in time she would abandon this idea and truly love him. After many defeats, Rita's father arrived on the moon to help her defeat the Power Rangers. At that moment, Rita and Lord Zedd took the opportunity to bomb Zordon's command center and steal the Zeo crystal. Rita sent her brother Rito Revolto along with Goldar on this mission. They managed to plant the bomb, but lost the Zeo crystal. Zordon, Alpha, and the Power Rangers managed to survive in a fortified power chamber beneath the Earth and eventually found the Zeo crystals in the rubble. Sometime later, Rita and Lord Zedd were overthrown by the Machine Empire and decided never to face the Power Rangers again. Despite this, Rita and Lord Zedd teamed up with Dark Spectre to deal a final blow to the forces of good throughout the galaxy. With this, Rita regained confidence that the Power Rangers could be defeated, so between her and Lord Zedd they worked together to catch the Gold Ranger. At that moment, the Dark Spectre army was winning the battle throughout the universe, and this is why Zordon sacrificed himself so that his energy would finish with all the villains. This same energy purified Rita and Lord Zedd, who somehow became human, but their energy was left wandering through space. After several years as a human, Rita regained her powers, but this time she used them for good and was called the Mystical Mother, appearing in Power Rangers Mystical Force. However, her evil energy was still wandering through space, and when Billy tried to bring Zordon back, Rita's energy entered through the broken glass of the tube. This energy took over Alpha 8's body and she managed to transform into Robo Rita, the same villain we had known, but now she had a robotic body. Finally, the Power Rangers managed to destroy her, but we do not know if this energy was destroyed and returned to wander through space. Goldar's story goes back thousands of years when he began serving Lord Zedd faithfully. There is no record of where he comes from or how long he has served Lord Zedd, but his appearance in Power Rangers begins when Lord Zedd sends Rita to Earth and Goldar with her. When the war between Rita and Zedd broke out, the first one to go to Earth to destroy the Power Rangers was Goldar. At the time, the powerful villain was so dangerous that he could defeat all 5 Power Rangers by himself, but when he transformed into a giant, he was defeated by the Megazord. Goldar also had a Zord of his own known as Cyclopsis, an ancient war machine, but this Zord was defeated by the Rangers' Ultrazord after a long battle. Although, at the beginning of the series, Goldar was a very powerful and dangerous being, he gradually lost power and no longer posed a great threat to the Power Rangers. His physique was similar to a bat with a golden armor, red eyes, and wings that appeared and disappeared throughout the series without any explanation. In his personality, he was known for telling Rita what to do, although Rita all the time insulted him. This is why he ended up hating Rita. When Lord Zedd came down to the moon, Goldar quickly abandoned Rita for his former master and Lord Zedd gave him back his wings. When Rita returns to the moon and gives a love potion to Lord Zedd, Goldar angrily had Finster make another potion to break Rita's spell, but by that time Lord Zedd was really in love with Rita and it was not because of the love potion. This shows the great loyalty Goldar had for Lord Zedd and the great contempt he still had for Rita. After many battles and defeats with the Power Rangers, Goldar teamed up with Rita's brother, Rita Revolto, to plant a bomb in the Power Rangers command center. They also wanted to steal the Zeo crystals, but they lost them along the way. Then the bomb exploded and somehow Goldar and Rita lost their memories. Because of this, they ended up wandering around Angel Grove and met Bulk and Skull and became their servants since they didn't remember anything and didn't know how powerful they were. Finally, Rita and Lord Zedd find them and give them back their memory to help them defeat the Empire of the Machines. In Power Rangers in Space, in the final invasion, Goldar helps Rita and Lord Zedd to stop the Gold Ranger. Then occurs the sacrifice of Zordon and the wave that destroyed all the evil beings and managed to transform other beings such as Rita, Lord Zedd, and Divatox. At that time, it was not known if Goldar had died or had been transformed. It was not until the era of Power Rangers Beast Morphers that it was known that Goldar had died, because in this season they managed to revive Goldar. By reviving him, he changes his appearance a bit and returns even more powerful than before. He swears loyalty to Evox for reviving him and destroys Sledge for having mocked his loyalty to Evox. Finally, Goldar, now called Goldar Maximus, leads the attack against the legendary Dino Rangers led by Jason, who ends up destroying the villain by combining their weapons and creating the Ultra Blaster, ending Goldar for good. Zordon and the Power Rangers had a mutual friend who helped them in every way they needed. Alpha, an advanced robot from another planet who obeyed Zordon's every command and on several occasions was the Power Rangers' mentor. Alpha was programmed to help the Rangers, but also had a good friendship with Zordon and was loyal to him. Although many think that there is only one Alpha, the reality is that there are several and many people can confuse them because they look very similar. The most famous is Alpha 5, the first to appear in the television series. There is also Alpha 6, who was programmed by his brother Alpha 5. These two robots are constantly confused as they are almost the same, but later we will see their differences. Before Alpha 5 appeared in Zordon's life, there was Alpha 4, who was also Zordon's assistant and only appeared in 2 episodes in the entire series. The first episode he appears in is Wild West Part 2, where we get to see an old command center and Alpha 4. The other episode he appears in, only his body appears inside a box in the episode where Goldar and Rita explode the command center. However, it is said that this character was the one who helped Zordon build the command center and found the power coins. There is a very interesting fact about Alpha 4 and Alpha 5, and it is that when Power Rangers started, in the first episodes we can see that the Alpha 5 suit had the shoulders more attached to the arms. Then, in later episodes, we can see that his shoulders changed to be detached from his arms, and this ends up being Alpha's official form. Basically, the production team made a small change to the suit, and Alpha 4 was supposed to have been like that too, but he also had his shoulders detached from his arms since they used the same Alpha 5 suit to represent Alpha 4, since the first episode where he appears was aired in Season 2. Even so, if we look closely, we can see that there are scenes where Alpha 5 has his shoulders both ways when the scene changes. This happens because the production team used old scenes recorded with the first Alpha 5 suit with the shoulders attached to the arms. When Power Rangers Turbo started, Alpha 5 had another revamped body, but it was still Alpha 5. It was a brighter body with blue parts instead of black, and the lightning bolt on its chest had changed. In addition to this, his head no longer had the small sphere in the center and his body was thicker. In the third episode of Power Rangers Turbo, Alpha 5 and Zordon went to the planet Elter, but Alpha 6, Alpha 5's brother, appeared. Alpha 6 had the exact same new body as Alpha 5, but his personality was very different. Alpha 6 had a funnier and more masculine voice, as well as having more energetic moves and attitude. This Alpha started from Power Rangers Turbo being an assistant to the Power Rangers, until Power Rangers Lost Galaxy episode number 44 when the ship explodes and the Red Ranger takes him in his transport, but in the middle of another explosion, Alpha 6 is blown away and falls to Earth. After this, Alpha 6 had not appeared anything else in the entire franchise, but after 8 years he returned in episode number 21 of Power Rangers Operation Overdrive, in which Adam the Black Ranger appears. In this episode, Adam needs help with technology, and so he seeks Alpha 6 and reactivates him. This is the episode that many get confused and think is the last episode of Alpha 5, but this is Alpha 6, and although each robot shares the same memories, they are not really the same robot. We can see this at the beginning of Power Rangers Turbo when Zordon and Alpha 5 reappear. At that point, Alpha 6 and Alpha 5 were in the same place. The only difference is that Alpha 5 was wearing his first suit, but the one with the shoulders detached from the arms, which is basically his official suit. In the Forever Red episode we can also see another Alpha, and this one is number 7. Many have said that Alpha 7 is the same as Alpha 5 but with some changes. Alpha 7 has the same body as Alpha 6, but its head is not shiny, it has an opaque color, similar to the first Alpha 5 suit. Still, it is not the same head since Alpha 5's old head has a sphere in the center and Alpha 7's head does not have the sphere. Another thing that supports the theory that Alpha 5 and Alpha 7 are the same robot, is that his voice is the same as it is played by the same actor, plus his personality should be the same. This is known since in that episode Alpha 7 had more dialogue in a conversation with Cole before entering the briefing room, but they cut that part in post-production. Talking a little more about Alpha 5, it comes from the planet Edenoi and was created by King Lishien. Alpha 4 also comes from the same planet, however, Alpha 6 and 7 are from planet Earth. These are the alphas that appear in the TV series, but in the comics there are more. Here, we get to meet Alpha 1, a robot that was also built on Edenoi by King Lishien. This robot was built to be a warrior and not a helper like Alpha 5. This is why, at one point, Alpha 1 gets upset with Zordon for not destroying Rita sooner and has a mental breakdown. Because of this, Alpha 1 wants to take down Zordon and the Power Rangers to seek out warriors and destroy evil. Another mention we have of Alpha in the comics is in the universe of Lord Draken, as he had used the parts of Alpha 5 from his world to merge it with Finster and create what would be Finster 5. The last Alpha we have knowledge of is Alpha 55, which appears in Power Rangers Hyperforce. This Alpha was built in the year 3015 and Jen Scotts programmed it to help Power Rangers Time Force. After we thought we would never see another Alpha again, we got to see 2 more robots in the special episode, and these were Alpha 8 and 9. Billy managed to build a new command center, and we all understand that he also created Alpha 8. Unfortunately, this robot's body was possessed by Rita Repulsa's energy when Billy was trying to bring Zordon back, and this caused the creation of Robo-Rita. We don't know how long it was after that event until Billy built another Alpha, and this would be number 9. It should be noted that Alpha 8 and Alpha 9 have a very different voice, but we don't know if their personalities are also different since we saw very little time of Alpha 8. However, we can say that Alpha 9 was a great robot and his personality is very similar to Alpha 5. Alpha 9 helped the Rangers and had 2 big important moments in this special episode. One of those moments was when he activated the Bandora protocol, which alerted all the Power Rangers teams, and that made the character feel like a great leader. The other moment happened right after activating the protocol, and that is when he gives the power coins to Rocky and Kat. If you like Alpha, like this video, and subscribe for more Power Rangers robots.